If your adult child has ever called you immature or narcissistic and you blew it off as an insult or maybe just tried to defend yourself against it, you might be missing one of the biggest reasons your family is broken right now. I realize that's a pretty bold statement, and it's kind of tough to hear. I also know how easy it is to get all riled up and dismiss those things as simply being disrespectful or ungrateful. But here's the thing, sometimes what feels like an insult or a degrading remark is actually a truth that we need to face. I've lived this stuff from every angle, and I can tell you that was one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn. But I can also tell you that when I finally faced my own reality, when I finally faced my own emotional immaturity, I started to understand what estrangement is really all about and how it happens in the first place. I could also see what part of this really was mine, and that's when things actually began to heal. Here's what a lot of people don't understand. Emotional immaturity doesn't have anything to do with age. It's about how we respond to life. You can be someone like me in your 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s, and still shut down during conflict, lash out when you're criticized, or expect others to manage your emotions for you or to take care of you when you don't feel strong enough to do it yourself. Emotional immaturity often shows up as overreacting, avoiding hard conversations, always needing to be right, or blaming everyone else for your feelings and even for your own behavior. Now, you might be wondering, how can I be at this more mature phase of my life and still be struggling with emotional immaturity? Well, emotional maturity doesn't correspond with chronological age. It develops when we're taught healthy ways of processing our feelings, when we set boundaries, and we learn how to handle conflict in healthy and productive ways. But if you grew up in a family that avoided emotion or punished vulnerability or modeled some of these more unhealthy patterns, chances are great you never had a chance to build those healthy emotional skills. And if no one showed you another way to do it, you probably carried those same habits into adulthood. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you were never taught how to do anything different. Now, here's the big kicker. If you weren't taught to do those things, there's a very likely chance your kids weren't either. And it's impossible to expect our kids to be grown up, mature adults when we're actually not there ourselves. That's actually also where the big conflicts happen, where the big blow-ups happen, and where things just seem to go out of control. It's two immature or stunted emotional systems and dysregulated nervous systems meeting each other in a game of what really does equate to hand grenades. It's never going to end well. It's always going to result in fireworks. And there's going to be a scene of mass destruction that can be seen at point blank range. Let's dive a little deeper and take a look at what that really means. When emotional immaturity shows up in a parent, it almost always puts the child in a role they were never meant to carry. They may become the peacemaker, the parent's confidant, or the one responsible for making everyone laugh or for keeping everyone calm. I talked in my last video about enmeshment, and that's how this stuff often shows up. What looks like close or connected relationships on the surface may not actually be that at all. And while this stuff may seem to work for a while, may seem to serve the purpose for the parents, may seem to meet the needs of the parents, it doesn't last forever because over time it creates exhaustion, resentment, and burnout, usually on both sides, but definitely for the child. The good news is it's not too late to learn this stuff. I don't care how old you are right now, it's never too late to learn. So here's a little challenge for you. Next time one of these things hits, instead of rushing in to defend yourself and engage in conflict, take a step back, take a breath, pause and ask yourself, am I listening and am I really hearing what they're trying to tell me, even if their delivery is less than perfect? Am I responding to what they're doing or saying as an equal partner and as a grown up, even if they are not? Or Am I behaving like a wounded child who doesn't feel safe myself? I promise you that one pause can change everything. So, what happens if we've overlooked some of this stuff, or maybe we didn't even know this was even a thing or that it was going on? Well, first of all, don't panic. I promise you're not alone. This happens to many, 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 many women, especially about my age range, especially. But this is also where things get tricky. Most of the women that I work with don't see themselves as emotionally immature. And they get really kind of all tied up in knots whenever this comes up. They see themselves as being strong, sacrificial, noble, or doing the very best that they could. Nobody's doubting any of those things. But if your child describes you as controlling or dismissive, argumentative, unstable, or unwilling to listen, it's worth taking a step back and reflecting on those things. Because emotional immaturity doesn't always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looks more like big expectations, overhelping, overserving, overstepping, overcontrolling, or always being front and center of everything. Instead of rushing in to try and defend yourself against things that you believe are not true, try repeating back what you heard your child say, even if you don't agree with it. So, this is what I heard you say. Is that what you meant to say? Did I hear that correctly? This is going to keep you from getting defensive. It also makes the other person feel heard and seen, and it keeps you grounded in the conversation. And if by chance they're the ones that are spewing junk, that's simply going to shut them down and let them know that you're not going to take it. So, what do we do if we're already past the point of engagement and the damage has already been done and the estrangement has already happened? Well, that's when it becomes even more important to take an honest look at yourself and then at the situation as a whole. Maybe it's time to rewrite the stories that we're telling ourselves and others about it and make sure that our part is in there as well as theirs. Because the truth is, estrangement is rarely about punishment. It's almost always about survival. When a child grows up in the shadows of emotional immaturity, they may have learned about it a lot sooner than we did, and they may distance themselves because it's the only way they know how to break those patterns and start healing themselves. So rather than seeing it as a bad thing, let's try and flip that narrative to, wow, they're working on doing better for themselves. That's a good thing. That simple shift will also give you power to start your own healing work as well. And maybe someday in the future, maybe there's a chance that a healthy reconciliation can happen. And if not, you'll still make leaps and bounds of progress in your own healing journey and creating peace in your own life. And that is worth, oh, so much. If you're ready for some more hot healing tips, grab a copy of my free guide, Reclaiming Your Peace After Estrangement. It's full of simple things you can do right away to start your own healing experience and your own healing journey and reclaim peace for yourself. And this stuff works no matter how things have gone down. There's a link below to that in the description. Be sure and check that out. No matter where you are on your own healing journey, estrangement isn't about waiting for your child to come around or to fix things. Healing begins when you decide to grow. It's when you're willing to recognize and move through your own bouts of emotional immaturity and recognize they don't make you a terrible person, but they may have been passed on to you from generations before who likewise didn't know how to deal with it, but were doing the best that they knew how to do. That's what also makes you a cycle breaker. And if some of this is ringing true and your adult children have said these kind of things, that's probably what they're trying to do too. It can happen for you, it can happen for them, and it's worth whatever we have to do to make it happen. What we've talked about today is just one little piece of the puzzle, though. You might still be thinking, but man, we were so close. I still honestly am not sure what caused all of this. That's exactly what I covered in my last video. Click over here to watch it right now because what you learn over there will connect directly to what we've talked about in this video today. I'll see you over there.